remember talking to Brant and I said, I really want to be a mom. And we got married when I was 35. And I said, okay, so the deal is you're not supposed to have a child after you're 40. And I said, so we're doing this, and it's either going to happen or it's not. And it did.
I've always wanted to. I just always saw myself as a mom, and I don't know, I had this weird feeling like I'd have boys, and I don't know what I'd do without them now.
They thought that I would lose the baby when I was pregnant with her big sister, so my first child. They thought I would lose her because they didn't think it was a normal pregnancy. And that's when I knew, because all of a sudden I wanted this baby. And then when she's actually there, because it's all natural childbirth, and I don't know, when she's actually there, I remember laying her on a bed and just saying, I will take care of you.
Oh, always, forever. I knew I wanted two kids, and whatever God blessed me with is...
And also she thought the 2 kids inside of her belly were going to be boys, but they turned out to be girls.
2 girls. God blessed me with 2 beautiful girls, and I just knew that I always wanted to be a mom.
I don't know when I knew I wanted to be a mom. I just suddenly was a mom. I didn't have to wish and think or anything. I was a mom.
My parents died when I was very young, and I had a wonderful family, and I knew that I wanted to have a family.
I don't know if I was never Mother Earth. So I never had this driving thing that I wanted to have children. If it happened, it happened. If someone said you couldn't have children, I would have gone on to the next thing, and that's just being very honest.
I mean, I had a million baby dolls. I was one of the older cousins in the family and loved babysitting for the baby cousins. And I just always, either little baby animals or children, I just was totally drawn. That's just I feel like it was a vocation.
I always knew I wanted to be a mom at some point.
I wanted to be a mom probably since I was little. And I don't think in my generation that women questioned that decision as much as maybe it's more common now.
Well, honestly, Amber was unexpected. But I knew, when I found out I was pregnant, I was kind of excited and happy to be having a baby. I was scared because I was so young.
Oh, I think since I was a young girl, sort of figured that would come into the picture at some point. I pictured myself being like my mom, getting married, having at least some kids. So, probably by elementary school.
I worked at a degree that I worked in for a couple of summers, and I got married, and I was never able to pursue my degree as a result, or I elected not to. I had put it all aside to be a mom.
I think I would have liked to have traveled more and kind of spread my wings more. I tended to be more of a stationary person and didn't really test or experiment as much as I could have.
I kind of wish that I would have lived on my own, because I did the traditional, go to high school, go to college, get married, get a job, start the family. There was never a time when I just did what Laura did, which was go to India, go to Costa Rica.
Because I got married at 21, and I never lived alone, and luckily it's worked out. I've been married for 53 years, so that worked. I picked the right person. But I think maybe just having maybe a little more time to myself or independence, which I never had. I went from living at my parents' house to getting married, and it was a different world then.
I wish that I had been allowed to go to a college that would have fostered my my playing of the cello and being in an orchestra, and that didn't happen.
I went from my father's house to living with my husband, and I'm really happy my girls didn't do that. They all got to experience living on their own for a little while. I wished I had lived in Manhattan for a couple of years or something like that.
Or does this generation have more difficult? Or is it really the same that you just kind of trade off challenges?
It's enough to just pay attention to a little being and be a part of their life. But with what all you guys have to do, plus living in a city where you have transportation and babysitters and, you know, all of that, it's much easier in my day.
I just am in awe of people who can raise their kids now with what's going on, with the awareness of everything, the access to the internet and what's happening. I always say to my friends, thank God I don't have to raise children now, because I don't know how I would do it.
And I also think that the video games are so violent. And it was just Pac-Man, right? Mm-hmm. When he was younger. So, and I think that the world is a much more difficult place now. I think it's scary.
I think sort of the inundation of all this information can distract you from parenting potentially, and you're all caught up in checking your Twitter feed or your Facebook Messenger or whatever. As I see parents on their phones, and they're like at McDonald's in line, and I'm like, what about your kid?
I have chosen to be a working mom. I don't know that I would be a great stay-at-home mom. I think I'm a better mom working. Working moms and stay-at-home moms are kind of envious and feel sorry for each other, you know, in different ways.
When I first went back after my son was born, I actually worked part-time. And so I used to joke that at work, I know what I'm doing. I know how to make decisions. It's very easy. When I'm home, you know, with my son at, you know, 1.5 or 2, I second guess myself all the time because I can't figure him out.
Well, I was expected to run a business or have a full-time career. I was expected to have a husband, do everything he needed, take care of the house, and have the children.
Maybe I should have had a job and they saw me go to work. And yet still be a good mother to them. I don't know.
Like as a role model or like
yeah, as a role model. That, yeah.
She was only 6 when we got divorced. And so then I went back and got my master's degree, and I was so overwhelmed that there was no way I could do everything. So my sons actually had to start helping, and Laura helped a lot. And I think it ended up being very good for Laura to see a strong, independent woman who made it from just being this little kind of scared, mousy, submissive wife and mother to becoming someone who could get their master's degree and, you know, run the whole show, did everything. So, yeah.
No, I was a family mom because I could be. And I don't suppose I especially wanted to be a working mom. Seemed like a lot of trouble to be working and come home and taking care of children.
Yeah. You know, I think stay at home is very hard because I'm doing it right now. Yeah. And sometimes I do wish, you know, I had some work or just something to do other than just, I shouldn't say just being a mom. Because it is very fulfilling at the same time, and I feel kind of cruel saying it sometimes.
Mothers should do what feels right for them. And you know what, mothers have to work most of the time. It's expensive. I would never say to anyone, you should work, you should stay home. Mm-mm.
I always worked part-time, so I tried to balance in that way. As they got older, I went from half-time to three-quarter times to full-time. I really did a full-blown career when I was 50.
She was only about 7, and we were in Iran. And I knew she was with the group, and we'd all gotten on the big bus, and we were
Mother was a tour guide.
We were going between cities. And I was a little spaced out because a lot was happening with a lot of people. We had about 35 people with us. And all of a sudden I said, does anyone know where my child is? to be, and you know, there was that moment of sheer panic. I'm in a foreign land and I haven't got a clue where my kid is.
I am the parent of an adult, and I worry the same. You worry about something, you know, people with young children worry if they're going to stick their hands in a socket, but we worry the same thing. That's it, it's just worry. You never, ever, ever get rid of the worry.
She just opened the front door and she just started walking out onto the street, and I thought she was sleeping, and then this woman brought her back, knocked on the door and brought her back, and she said, "Do you know whose baby this is?" And I'm like, "Oh my God, that's my daughter." And she just walked out of the house and just started walking down the driveway and onto the street. And I think, you know, since then, I think I've always been worried about, you know, well, that was a eye-opening moment, but I always think about like the worst that can happen to them, you know. And I think about even them getting lost or them getting, you know, taken.
She was in between these two streets, so this car must have seen her alone and went down the one street and then came up and someone got out of a van. The driver stayed in the car, and then the sliding door of the van opened, and they came after Deirdre.
My brother Jem, who was just older than me, had climbed out the window. He was going to tightrope walk, and he went out the window, and then he was just holding by his fingers, and I ran in and told Mom. And I said, "Mom, Jim is hanging out the window." And you believe me. Mm-hmm. Luckily, she believed me.
How old were you?
And came and...
Yeah, I mean...
I was very little. I think I was very little.
Yes, but you were so definite, you know.
I was definitely knew there was something serious. Mm-hmm. And there was Jim.
And you almost missed him. You just had, in the last minute, you saw two little hands. But
I was going to be 22, I was 21 when I had her. So I was very young, and I wish that financially I think I was in a better place, me and her father, so that we could just, you know, give them a better kind of lifestyle.
You know, when she would come home with a grade that was just, I knew she could do better, whatever. I remember her saying to me, "Nobody's perfect." And I thought, I have to change that. And so I really did, and then I regretted it, because as she got older, sometimes she just didn't enjoy life, and I really regretted doing that to her.
I don't think I realized the depth of her despair, and even in high school, it's just things, you know, there in middle school, and there were just, I think there was a lot of sadness around Anne that I didn't pick up on, you know.
Yeah, because I first thought about killing myself when I was 10.
She had such a rare syndrome that the neonatologists didn't even know what it was. They had to look up in the March of Dimes encyclopedia or something. There was a little paragraph on Cornelia de Lange syndrome. I was given an option to put her up for adoption, put her in foster care, or in an institution, and I said, I have to bring her home. She's my baby, and I have to try. And I tried for 3 years and really didn't have much of a life. And poor Genevieve, she was from 3 to 6. She was fairly neglected.
Put me on the plane in Denver, but my host family wasn't picking me up at the airport. They told me to get in a taxi and take a taxi to their house. I ended up in what I found out later was an illegal taxi. And I guess I've never wanted to tell you that because I just felt so bad and so embarrassed about what could have happened to me.
And over dinner, she proceeds to tell me that her first husband did not die in an automobile accident. She had divorced him before my brother was born. She had told him, and then he, you know, of course, you know, he's like, well, thank God. He's like, because as a young boy, I could hear the inconsistencies in the stories. And he's like, I always thought I was a product of a rape.
Do you know I was engaged before your dad?
No.
Well, you didn't know that then, did you?
Who?
None of your business.
You never asked me about hitchhiking through Europe.
I didn't?
Nope, you've never asked me about that.
How'd you afford that?
There was no money. I'm gone for 3 weeks with no money at all.
But you flew there?
Yep, my parents paid for my flight when I graduated from college. And I hitchhiked through Europe with no money, sleeping on park benches eating bread and peaches.
She'd have, when I was in home ec, she had study hall or something, and I'd get a bathroom pass, and I'd go to her classroom, and I'd give her a little high sign, and she'd get the bathroom pass, and we'd leave the school and smoke a joint in the pet cemetery.
I definitely think I inherited her strength. She is so strong. Like I just, it's so amazing. Like just to think of all the things that we've like gone through and how strong you stayed through all of it. Like I think that's definitely something that you gave me.
We Zumba. She Zumbas, and I was like, oh, I want to see that. And then so we went together, and then I looked in the mirror, and I was like, we look exactly the same. So
the love of reading and books. I'm teaching my kids to read in the same way that she taught me to read. And so there's this beautiful lineage that I get to think about you as I'm teaching them to read.
I think I become her more and more every day. Unfortunately, my husband's not so excited about that.
She had me on her 18th birthday, and that was really tough. You know, she finished high school pregnant. She didn't have to do that, and she worked really hard. She knew that she needed a job, and so she's always worked. Like she's instilled in me, I think, a good sense of work ethic, and just loving people.
I had purchased a washer and dryer, and my dad had the brilliant idea, he's a mechanical engineer, of hooking it up with a hose. And I lived in a second-story townhome, and it flooded my entire house, and the insurance had come out and the whole thing, and I basically thought my life was over. And I told that to my mom, and she drove over right then, and she said, we're gonna go take a walk, and I'm gonna tell you all the reasons. Your life is not over, because it's never over. She said, that's a house, those are things, but you are you.
She was great, Mama. No, she's still here. It's just like, this is just, I didn't realize I was going to get all sentimental. My mom is fabulous. Like, she's like my best friend. And
she's awesome. She rocks. She's the best grandma ever.
My mom lost her mom when she was really young, so she's like, I didn't know what I was doing, but I think my mom did a great job knowing that she didn't have a mom to kind of role model herself after. So.
How do you make the potato soup?
That's a good one. She made the best milk potato soup in the
Took it with
world.
her. Yeah.
Yeah. We have the recipe, but it doesn't quite turn out the way Grandma made it.
I know that when she passed away, there was a big part of me that I kind of lost that relationship, and I want both Amber and Amanda to make sure that they continue that relationship with me.
Last thing that my mother said to me, and I was 21 when she died, was her only regret was she would never see her grandchildren playing on the beach.
I mean, I wish I could ask her, would you be proud of me today?
So what'd you think of my children playing on the beach?
Well, I think I would ask her why she didn't, she hadn't gone to a doctor in 25 years and had horrible high blood pressure and a bad heart, and she didn't have to die when she did at 67.
I think just to say I'd like to have a hug or something. I don't really have a question per se, no.
I've always loved running races and doing different races, and I couldn't wait for these boys to be able to run with me or with us. And they're now getting to that age that we can run races together, and that is one of my favorite things.
When we used to go to Dairy Queen like every Thursday after school,
Yeah,
and
that
just
was
like
fun.
talk about like what was going on and like how life was.
But she used to walk us to the library from 6th and Emerson, so walk down to the Denver Public and go to the library and then have a hamburger.
Go to the grocery store with her. I don't know why, but I just love doing like just little things like that.
So we would play Scrabble and make tea. So we'd have tea, and that was one of the times too that we could have like a little pot of sugar and everything to go in our tea. And we'd sit out in the living room and play Scrabble together. And I guess what made that special to me was that was our like dedicated time where we were just the two of us together. And also, Mom wouldn't like cheat. She wouldn't like try to make it easier for me to win. So she played like full strength. But I can tell you now that I remember the day I won. I remember it, and was so proud of myself because it felt real, that you had made it real and that I'd actually caught up to you.
I haven't. It's hard. I'm still the because I say I'm still your mother. After being in Steamboat for several years and really doing such an amazing job getting his home and having different jobs that he really liked, I think at that point I realized that he really was, he could be on his own.
The biggest moment for me was when we went to get our driver's license and you look across and there she is. And you know that that's a process of life that you go through, but it's like, wow, okay, so it's happened, so now you're gonna drive me everywhere.
I think it was kind of a gentle thing for me about her growing up and being an adult. I had respect and faith that she would do the right thing when she was out on her own, and she did.
When you went off to Oberlin, then, oh dear. Because I had a hard time with that empty nest thing.
When she was, I think, 6th grade, how old are you, 11, 12, it was the first time she started sort of pulling away, and if you touched her, and that was really, really hard for me.
But just know that years later it's changed, and now she's like, you can go do something, but Dad and I are going to be busy. Do you have anything to do? I'm like, hi, it's me again, just calling, see where you're at. So it came full circle.
She decided to go back to Rome, and she went online. She booked a room or a hostel or something like that, booked her tickets, and went. And I thought, well, she's arrived.
I believe they can, but I get worried about them sometimes. But then I just have to kind of step back and say, they're adults now. They're gonna do the right thing. I'm not gonna go in there. I'm not gonna tell them what to do. I'm not gonna clean up their house for them when I go over there.
I think you called from Calcutta, and you were telling me how absolutely joyful you were to be working at Mother Teresa's orphanages. And you were describing in graphic detail walking through ankle deep in the sewage to and from the orphanage every day, and how everybody else in the group was sick or at home and didn't want to play, and you and the group were the only two going, woohoo, this is the best, and it's so fantastic. She found the joy in it, and the wonder in it, and the excitement in it, and she shared that with me.
She's stable. She's made a fabulous parent, and I'm going to cry. She climbed in her career and watched it go away. It just wasn't there anymore, and made the adjustment. And then after all these years, she came home and lived in Denver. And I am so happy.
You couldn't ask for two better people. And they both have fabulous marriages. They're fabulous mothers. They just are wonderful people, and I feel very blessed.
Now my biggest challenge is that I need a kidney. And Marlo and Nicole have become my champions. They're looking for a living donor for me, and that takes a lot of time, reaching out, and I could never do that for myself, and so that's a great thing.
When we're all together, that's my happiest time. I say that. I say, I am so happy. This is my happiest time when we're all together.
Oh, those moments when you know you are doing it right. You know, every once in a while something happens. And you think, all right, I must have done something right.
And what?
See, like this.
And I'm so proud of the most amazing parent that I watch her be.
They kind of shaped me maybe as much as I could have influenced them, because it really was. I'm gonna.
The day she graduated college, she'd been on the psych ward that whole month. To see her walking across that aisle and finishing college in 4 years, even with all you went through, that was pretty cool. Yep, I was proud of you.
You only get to be young one time in your life. Because when you're young, you're pressured into being older than you are. Your peers pressure you big time, and I just wanted them always to know you only get to be young one time.
You're never going to be ready to be a mom. Even though I said in the beginning of the interview, I wish we were financially more prepared, I think that would have helped, but just in your mental state and in your confident state, I don't think you're ever ready to be a mom until you are a mom.
You have many opportunities in life, many, from when you're younger to when you're older. And if you want to do something, really take the opportunity and do it. Find a way to do it.
To find out what you love in life and do it.
Just love your children and your husband or your wife, and just be good to them, because you never know what the next day is going to bring. Things can happen very suddenly.
Not that you have to have a partner to be happy in life, but if you have a partner, be one that cherishes you and adores you essentially, and that's your best friend in the world. And professionally to do like you're writing, and to know what you're good at, and go with your heart and know where your skill set is, and don't let other people tell you otherwise.
I think children are a part of your family. Sometimes I think nowadays it's just so child-centric that I think people forget about the relationship of the husband and wife. And I think, to me, that is key, to have that good, strong relationship, and that your children are part of your family. And sometimes, obviously, they have different needs and at that point, but I think people forget that. And I think that, to me, is one advice I would give.
We are the guide. We're showing you the way to hopefully make it easier for you, but also teaching you the tools, nurturing the things in you to just make it in this world and to be who you need to be and want to be.
It's just this point of caring for someone else, and the compassion and the empathy, and just like, wow, look at what we can do.
We actually talked about this recently, about unconditional love, and even Kyler was like, so I could do something really, really mean to you and you'd still love me. And I'm like, yes, I love you.
It's fulfilling to do many things, but to be a parent is a special thing to happen in your life.
Even as an adult, once again, it's that same word, unconditional, but that's what makes a mother, someone who will love you forever.
You have to have boundaries, you have to set limits, you have to be loving. You can't let them have whatever they want. You can't be their friend first. I was very lucky with Laura. We did get to be friends, but I always was the mother.
Someone that takes care of the people that they got birth with. I think the mother should be loyal and self-disciplined.
Patience. That can make or break a mom.
The job of parents, the job of a mother, is that we are vision keepers, that I can just see a little farther down the road than my children can. And so it's my job to hold that vision for them until they can, until I can pass it on to them to take on for themselves the vision for their lives.
Sort of
evolving with the relationship with your child, you know, being their provider when they need it, being their friend when they need it, being their confidant, and like being the voice of reason.
It's like she said, it's so big. I think it's being selfless. I think it's putting your child before you, but not in an unhealthy way. But you've changed your priorities.
I love her.
Yeah, we do.
Thanks for being my mom.
You're welcome. I ain't supposed to cry. Yeah. You didn't tell me I needed tissues.
I love you.
I love you too, honey. Oh,
just so happy I had them. Really, that's all I ever wanted.
I love you too. Do I have lipstick on my forehead?
No.
Thanks, Mom, for being a great host. and this.
Oh! We're very lucky. We are really fortunate.
And I'm glad we did this. Thanks for this.
Oh my gosh, yeah, it's been awesome. Yeah, I'm glad you came and did this with me and you're a good sport.
Yeah, and I'm sorry
Yeah.
for getting frustrated because you didn't know where we were.
I'm glad you're my mom. I'm really, really glad you're my daughter.
I love you.
Yes.
I love you too. This is like getting deep. I was like,
Yeah.
man, nothing.
Yeah.
Love you.
Love you.
Well, I'd like to thank you.
I'd like to thank you too. You're a great daughter.
Oh, I had a bird in
A bird pleased me, and I fed my bird under yonder tree, and my bird said, Tweedledee. Oh, I had a duck, and my duck pleased me, and I fed my duck under yonder tree, and my duck said, Quack, quack, and my bird said, Tweedledee.
And I broke the glass in the library once, wrestling with my boyfriend in the library.
Looks into the refrigerator and can't find stuff in the refrigerator, and it's right in front of her face.
One thing that we always do is when we go to a restaurant and there's something really cute, like a little creamer or
This
something
is
for
going
the
to
tea.
be, honey, this will be
then
recorded.
I remember when it's really cute, then she just puts it in her purse.
But no, she does.
Think ahead. How are you going to look back and feel about any choices that you make? I'm still saying that.
I kissed my Bumble date last night. I kissed my Bumble date last night.
Oh.
He hid behind the door, and I didn't realize it was there, and then I heard this. I screamed, and he was like, oh, I'm so sorry, I'm so sorry, I'm so sorry, I'm so sorry. I'm like, no, you got me good. That was a good one.
And now I do the same thing. You know, something that won't be missed. Like if there's a little tiny spoon for your tea or something.
It has to
that's
be
just so
super
cute.
cute. It has to. Oh, Rebecca. They looked at me with their wide eyes and they gave me the child.
Please
said,
take her.
Mom, please take her.
We had to walk 10 blocks until I finished my oatmeal, which she gave me every morning, and I had it bulging in my cheeks, and she walked me all the way into the kindergarten class in front of the students and the teacher, and there I was with my cheeks bulging with oatmeal.
Never call boys. Always make them call you. Remember that?
Did I say
Yeah, you did.
I always wanted to witness a birth, you know, and
It was different for me.
Deirdre was totally
Oh, poor Deirdre was there.
She's
Yeah.
never having children. Deirdre was there, and she gave her a camera. She was so upset. I said, "Here, you take pictures." I was trying to.
I didn't ask anybody to take pictures.
Yeah,
I don't know.
No, but I said.
I was on
You'll
autopilot,
love
and I'm
that.
taking pictures of Genevieve's vagina.